in this next video, I'm going to be showing you how to manipulate the colours within your document in the Pixlr.com image editor. So we're going to be exploring various different ways to work with colour. So yeah, let's get started. So you can see I've got an example of the kind of thing that I'm going to cover, and this video is one in a series that's part of a playlist. So if you like this one, have a look at the other ones in the series. They run together in the same playlist, and it's aimed at fashion and textile students and professionals, especially those of you that don't have access to the Adobe Suite. So let's go over to my pre-prepared image over here, and I created this in the previous video that was all about selection tools and layering. So we're going to turn this into this. We're going to add in our colours. We're going to change the colours of the individual images. So to change the colour of an individual image, there's various different things you can do. I'm just going to first click on my move tool. I'm going to click on the layer that I want to edit, and then I'm going to go to adjustment, and then you can see I've got quite a few different ways of changing the colour. My preferred method is to use hue and saturation. Let's just zoom in a little bit, especially for this type of focus. Let's go back to that again. There we go. So we want to click on it first, then go to adjustment, hue and saturation, and then you can see I've got three sliders here. If I click and drag on the hue slider, it cycles all the way through the colour wheel. And I've already selected a colour palette, which I've got on the other screen, as you can see. So I'm going to try and make it, the colours in the new document match this. So I'm looking for a kind of pinky colour, and you can see I've got two different colours there in that one section. If I want the same colour to be applied over the top of the layer, if I select the colorise option here, you can see it's kind of like a flat hue all the way over. So I'm going to move that over and change that to kind of pinky colour, like so, and you can see it's quite it's quite pink, but it's a bit too dark. So I'm going to go down to the lightness, and I'm going to adjust the lightness, make it a bit lighter. But it's still looking not quite right, it's quite bright. So I'm going to reduce the saturation here, and if you take it more towards the left, it converts it to grey. If you increase it towards the right, it will make it really bright. So I'm just going to take that down so it's a bit more of a muted pink. And then I'll click apply once it's done. And let's have a look at that. So I can do the same thing with some of the other images. So I want to try and get that pink to show, and also this kind of dark turquoise teal colour. So let's do the same thing on this layer here. So I go adjustment and hue and saturation, and I'm going to tick colorise, which, because you can see it's still kind of multicoloured. Tick colorise, and then it's a bit more balanced. You can see it's looking quite good as it is. Might want to make that a little bit darker. Perhaps reduce the saturation a little bit so it's not so harsh. And the colours you pick will really be dependent on the trend that you're working towards, or the market level. So for this one, it's a print design for women's wear. So I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to do the same thing here. Adjustment, hue and saturation, colorise. There we go. Take that down a little bit. Let's go back to the reference image. Okay, so that's a kind of basic method of adjusting the colour. In order to get my colour chips in, which you can see I've done here, I'm going to first of all create a white background because at the moment my document doesn't have a background on it, and that's indicated by the checkered background, so that shows that it's transparent. Just move this over. So yeah, in my layers panel here, if I click on layer 1, I'm just going to minimise this, and I want to go to my fill tool. Looks like a paint bucket, and what that will do, if you click on within the image on the area that you want to fill, it will fill that layer, whichever layer that you've got highlighted, it will fill that with the colour that's showing up here in the foreground colour box. So now that I've got my white background in, I'm going to create another layer, and I want it to sit on top of everything else. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol, and I'm going to select what type of layer you want to add. So I want to add an empty layer for now, so let's select that. I'm going to go to my marquee select tool, and instead of rectangles or squares, as you can see on the example, I'm just going to go with ellipse, so I can create a circular colour swatch. So it's up to you what you how you choose to show your colours, but it's a few different options. I'm going to click and drag to create my selection, and if I hold down the shift key, now it should keep the proportions, but it doesn't, that shortcut doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is just look at the width and the height values that are coming up on the screen, make sure that they match, and then that will be a perfect circle. And then I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool, or my picker tool, and then you can see if I click on one of my layers, it selects that colour, or it sets that colour as a foreground colour, and it also gives you various different options here, different colour combinations. So I'm going to select one of those, or you can pick a colour this way, or you can double click within this circle down here, and it will bring up the colour picker window. You can cycle through the different hues using this, and then once you're in the right section, you can click inside the gradient square here to select colour. Instead, I'm just going to click on colour there, and then I'm going to use my fill tool to click inside of the active selection, and I'm going to go select and then deselect, and then it's filled inside of the circle, but that's only on layer 10 because I created a new layer beforehand. So I'm going to go to my arrange tool, I'm going to move this over, I'm going to duplicate this layer so that I've got another version of this circle that's the same size and shape. So we'll go to my layers panel, right click, go to duplicate layer, move it over, pick a new colour. So I'm going to have a few light versions and a few dark versions of this turquoise. Go to my fill tool, click inside the circle, and that will fill it. And again, I'm going to do the same thing for the others. So you're just going to keep repeating that process until you've got all of your colours. So we're normally working between 6 and 12 colours within textile design, but that really depends on the type of design and textile that you're working towards. As you can see, I've got 5 colours in here, which is totally fine as well. And then once you've done that, you're going to save what you've done. So in order for these layers to all be saved correctly, I'm going to open this back up. In order for all of these layers to be saved so that next time you open the file you can edit it, you need to save it in a specific way. So if I go to File and then Save, and make sure that you name it. So if I've got layers in my document, I'm going to put the word layers in the name just to keep organised. And then if I select where it says file type, I'm going to select PXD, which means I can reopen it within this software platform. And then you're going to hit download. And then you said it's a bit of a large file, so it might take a while. Select where you want to save it. And then I would always recommend saving a JPEG version of what you've done once you've finished it, so that you can easily switch between the files. So if you have a look at some of the example files I've got open here, you can see I've got my PXD document. So this one, design layout, so that is that one there. So I've got the JPEG version, and that means that it should show a preview of the file before you open it if you're working on a Mac. So it's just easier to see. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. There's some more videos within this playlist, so yeah, I hope you enjoy them.